Is there any commonality that you've noticed about the women that tend to come to the crossing? What are the biggest issues they struggle with, and is there commonality to it, or are they just...
I think across the board, I really think it's nationwide. I mean, it's just everywhere. We have just an epidemic of weak women. Women who don't have a knowledge and understanding of their worth, live as victims, and they're victims of their relationships, they're victims of their choices, they're victims of their addictions, they're victims of their families, and because of that, there's always a struggle. I have a struggle. I have a struggle with eating. We've got a major obesity problem. I struggle with, just partying too much, drinking too much. I have a struggle with, and you kind of, I think so many women define themselves by their struggle. And for some of them, it's obvious. If weight is an issue, it's obvious. Everybody sees that. But just that you may see the most beautiful woman in the room and not have any idea that at home by herself, she cuts herself because she just feels so horrible about herself and unworthy. And so I think for me, something that really started to get under my skin as God transformed my view of my role in this church over the last couple of years was just looking around me and seeing women who just are weak, who don't have an understanding of their value, and who can't conquer what their struggle is and move past just defining themselves by that. I have an aversion to women's ministry. It just makes me think of a bunch of chicks sitting around knitting and gossiping. But and so I started Twirl, which is an event for women where you can dress how you want. On the weekend we kind of dress down a little bit because we want to make everybody comfortable and nobody feels like they are underdressed. But a lot of times for Twirl we dress up, and then I just go hard after those insecurities and speak the truth over them instead. And so that's been something that's been really good for the women of our church. But, yeah.
I'm going to jump in and just say something real quick. I think the reason why women are weak in our culture is because men are weak.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at a strong woman who's married and confident, it's because her husband has empowered her with strength and confidence.
Yes.
And because guys are weak, and the women are wrecked.
I will tell you, sitting here right now, I am a strong woman because of him. Because he has empowered me. He has pushed me. He's been telling me for years that I'm a leader, and I've said, no, I'm not. And he's just kind of, he has pushed me and helped me do hard things. And when you do a hard thing, then you realize you can do a hard thing. And then you can do the next hard thing and have hard conversations and stand up for yourself and stand up for other people, stand up for your children, stand up against the enemy on behalf of your family. And but yeah, I think that women make themselves weaker because of the men in their lives. So often you just kind of lower yourself to that level.
I had a professor in college who told me one time that the strongest men are the ones that empower their wives. And if you see a weak woman in a marriage, it's because their husband is insecure. And I thought, it's so true. And if you can empower men, their women will step up too.
I just see the power, so much that women can accomplish if we can get past the things that hold us back. And really just the truth of Scripture is that's the answer. It's Jesus Christ. It's the truth of Jesus Christ and His unconditional love. And you just look throughout Scripture and you see Him, even in a male-dominant culture was the Bible time. You see women who were instrumental in ministry and women that God used to change the world. And I am a firm believer in good structure, organizational structure, authority structure in the home and in the church. But women need to have a voice. And not the rebellious kind, not the feminist, I'm going to stick my elbows out and, bust my way through the world, but just one that's empowered from within. The most famous woman of all time was the Virgin Mary, right? And I just remember in Scripture when the angel came to Mary and she said, "Blessed are you among women," and she's like, "What?" And he's like, "No, God's hand is on you, God's favor is on you." And she's, starting to think, okay. And he says, "You know what? Something big is going to happen." And she goes, "How is this going to happen?" And he says, "Oh, don't worry. The power of God's going to be on you." And so then she kind of, as she processed through that, her answer was, "Let it be. Let it be to me as you have said." And then, Mary goes and sees Elizabeth, and Elizabeth looked at Mary and she said, "Blessed is she who believes that what God has said is going to come to pass." And I think when women can read Scripture, read what Jesus says, that you are highly favored by God. You are highly favored by God. What? No, I'm not. Yes, you are, because you just have to believe it. It's not something you're going to feel. It's not something other people are going to tell you. It's something you have to believe from God, and that's where faith comes in. But you believe that you're highly favored from God. You believe that He's inviting you to do something great. He wants to do something great through your life. And you say, "No, how can that be? Because I have this past, or I have these flaws." And He says, "No, it's okay, because the power of God will be on you." And then when your reply is, "Okay, let it be to me as you've said. Whatever you want to do, God, you can use me," then blessed. And blessed means happy. Happy is the chick who believes that what God has said is going to come to pass. And I think if we just truly grasped that and understood that as women, then we would be empowered to give up and stop fighting for our own rights and fighting our way. Let it be to me as you've said, God. And then we can just function with the freedom and the joy that comes from knowing deep down inside that we're favored by God and that His hand is on us and He wants to use us to change our world, to love our husbands well, to submit to their leadership, to serve in our church, submit to the leadership of our pastors, to parent our children with strength and not, just be a weenie mom who succumbs to everybody's whims, but just to have that strength coming from within. I think that's revolutionary. But it literally takes daily getting up and knowing I'm favored by God. His hand is on me. His power is on me. He has a calling on my life, and I can do this.
Absolutely.
That's my thing.